Jahan, John, and Krishna, will you guys please come out and join me? Give them a hand. They're shy. It's late in the afternoon. Yeah, come on and go ahead and sit down. And we're going to be talking to you guys today about mobile monetization. And not just like regular old mobile monetization, but what we can do that's not just traditional, boring, easy to ignore advertising that makes everybody make money and see return on the investments that they're making. So first, let's go down the line and everybody say your name and what you do and why you think you have something interesting to say about mobile monetization.
Okay, I'm John. I'm one of the co-founders of Stripe. I have no robot with me today, so we might as well.
It's a good disclosure.
But Stripe makes it easy to accept payments on the web and on mobile, and so I guess the tie-in with commerce is pretty easy. So we work with lots of the companies, including some of them here today, like Remotive, helping people charge on mobile devices. We work with Sidecar, helping them charge for rides. And so, yeah, we're kind of excited about payments on mobile.
Well, as are we.
I am Krishna Subramanian. I was actually one of the founders of MobClicks, which is a mobile ad exchange. We help publishers and app developers make money from advertising across iOS and Android. We were acquired by Velty. I'm not the CEO, I'm the CMO right now of Velty, which is a mobile marketing company public on the NASDAQ. The majority of the revenue comes from marketing, from campaigns like CRM, mobile loyalty, those types of things.
Hey everyone, I'm Jahan. I am the co-founder and CTO at Sidecar. I'm a bit under the weather, but I'm going to try to do my best here. Yeah, I guess we are somewhat interesting for being a mobile company that makes money and yet does not, I guess, formally charge people a price for anything. So I guess that's fairly interesting.
Well, what you guys do is more like you do transactional fees for. Explain a little bit about how Sidecar works for the three of us who don't know.
So Sidecar is a peer-to-peer based instant ride-share platform. If you need a ride somewhere, you mark it in the app where you are, where you're going, and if someone who has their own car is able to give you a ride, they can pick you up. And effectively, what we do is at the beginning, before you order the ride, you're presented with a kind of suggested amount that people typically pay for a ride of this characteristic. And at the end of the ride, when you get out of the car, you can literally pay whatever you want. You can pay $0 if you want. You can pay twice as much if you want. And that's how it works.
It's kind of like regulated hitchhiking. I like it.
I would not use those words, but.
Of course not. That's me, you're the sassy journalist. I'm supposed to put words in your mouth that were never there. Okay, so let's talk first things first, and I think you two particularly have something to say about when you're looking at how to make money from your mobile application or application in general, what are the metrics that you're supposed to look at that are maybe different than you'd want to look at for other goals or other platforms?
Sure, go for it.
Right. Oh, you got to go.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing is it's important to look at mobile not as something way off in the corner by itself, but instead as part of a larger ecosystem and instead as part of the total funnel. And so the merchants who do mobile best, I think, don't say, oh, mobile isn't converting well, nobody spends money on mobile. They say, mobile is this great platform where people spend, N hours per day, and we can capture that. And sure, mobile isn't good at some things. It's not good at really intense data entry or anything like that. But it increases the total amount of time someone can spend with our service. And so you play to each one. And so I think specifically what you don't want to do in the metrics department is try to just take your desktop metrics and apply them to mobile. You don't just want to look at conversion rates through your desktop optimized checkout flow on a mobile device. Instead, you want to see where you can use mobile to increase total spend.
Okay. Any thoughts on that, Krishna?
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from an advertiser standpoint, mobile brings a lot of really interesting and valuable data that you don't get on other platforms. not only is it much more engaging in terms of rich media and what you can do with video, but in terms of data, let's say like location data. Location data is going to be the most valuable behavioral targeted data out there that you get from any platform. Today, when you look at desktop and you look at how people are behaviorally targeting you, it's based on how you're interacting on other websites, what ads you're clicking on, what things you're buying. But just imagine, once you get past the privacy issues, imagine the details you can get from location, knowing where a person's home location is, knowing the path they take to work every day, knowing that they pass a Starbucks or they pass a movie theater, and what you can do with that data, not at that instant moment, but tying that together and looping it back to your entire ad spend and looking at it from a multi-channel perspective.
Like an enterprising stalker.
Sure.
Well, you see, like knowing where you go to work, that is
Yeah.
essentially what it is. A stalker who's a little bit indifferent about exactly who you are, but really cares about how to make that information useful to you and to the people who are
Yeah,
subject.
it's figuring out a way to make that advertising become content. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, you look confused.
No, I was just gonna. So do you think it's easier to get someone to download an app than to use a desktop product? That's something I've always wondered.
Typing the URL is easier than probably downloading an app.
Do you think that, because what I find is, and with Sidecar, we get huge, absolutely huge numbers of downloads every day, and conversion rates fluctuate wildly. And so what we track, we don't, for example, look at app downloads as a meaningful statistic whatsoever, period, because if we did, we'd be insanely happy, but they're not meaningful numbers. And do you think that user pattern is unique to mobile?
So in terms of like app downloads, I don't think it, I'd say, let's say, 18 months ago, app downloads were great, right? The number of downloads you get helps with chart position, and then you get more organic downloads, all that sort of stuff. Now you're seeing more app developers care about what that lifetime value of the user is, how engaged people are within that application, how many rides they're buying or signing up for, what the value of that ride is. And then you figure out, well, how much are you willing to pay for a new user? And then that ends up being your metric. So.
To that question on downloading an app versus visiting URL, have you guys thought of experimenting with a mobile web or desktop web version of Sidecar where you can order the app from, or you can order the ride from there? Because that would be a faster way to onboard a user, right? Is let them from the web browser right there.
Well, it is true. I think as far as the way our application works and our use paradigm, it's very conducive to it being a mobile app. So we haven't kind of explored that yet. But I found that number interesting, and I just wondered what other people's experiences were with it.
While we're on the subject of web versus mobile, how would you describe really the contrast between web and mobile commercial content or advertising, like whatever it is? What is the crux of the issue, would you say, Krishna? Because you've dealt specifically with advertising for the web and advertising for mobile. Where does the balance lie?
Today, when you see the dollars flowing versus, let's say, the engagement time that you spend on the desktop or mobile, right? The engagement levels to the dollars spent on mobile just don't add up. They don't compare to the value that you see in the desktop worlds. There's a huge difference. There's a huge debt in that area, and I think a lot of it goes to how easy are you making it to spend dollars in mobile? Is it easy to buy across multiple platforms without using different types of technology across every single platform? And how easy is it for you to get new users and calculate the right metrics on mobile? So.
Well, and I think user expectations, are they different when you get to the mobile interfaces as well?
For sure. You can't just take an online campaign and run it into mobile and expect it to work. It's just not going to happen.
Well, we were talking about this before. When you talk about mobile advertising, you're not talking about display and search and really typical forms of online media that don't perform great no matter what you do. When you're talking about a 1%, less than 1% conversion rate for a display ad, that's just not amazing any way you want to slice it. So to take the same underperforming thing and just throw it on a smaller screen, yeah, that's going to work great. So when you talk about how do you create commercial and marketing mobile content that actually engages consumers? and I think part of that lies in what are consumers ready to do on a mobile phone.
Yeah, and I mean, I think let's just say from an advertising perspective, right? Some of the things that have been working out really well, rather than the standard banner ads that you see at the top or bottom of an app, is leveraging rich media and video. So, these phones that are going from smartphones to tablets to, I think Fleury called them phablets yesterday. So it's really leveraging video and sound, force, and gesture, and making things completely interactive and completely engaging that you can't do on the desktop, right? So it's leverage the device and understand where these users are going to be. They're going to be on the go. They're going to be waiting in line. What are they doing, and how do you cater to that particular user?
It's almost like an advertainment model for getting revenue.
Yep.
And when we talk about what users are willing to do on a mobile interface, I think that you, Jahan, and John also have really interesting perspectives on that. Like, you've got people telling you where they're going and how they're going to get there, and you've got people turning over, the end users turning over their credit card information to buy things from their phones. Do you think that mobile publishers and mobile developers are being creative enough when it comes to conniving interesting ways to take away people's money and channel it toward the business and toward the entrepreneur for innovative purposes, of course?
It's still really early. I think that's the thing to remember. We've had really good smartphones for about 5 years, and it takes an awful long time for sometimes we forget that the internet is 40 years old, and the internet was around for 20 years before the web came along, and there was no real technical reason it couldn't have existed before.
And it's still just now getting good.
Exactly, and it's just now getting good. How old is VentureBeat, right? The web was around for all this time.
Well, I got there 2 years ago, so that's...
So that's when I got there.
Yeah.
But no, I think we're still seeing all this evolution, and I think the thing that's really hard to get right is intent really matters on mobile.
More than on the web.
Well, I think intent is more varied on mobile. I think intent, when you're on the web, you're on the web, and you're generally on the web for a fixed amount of time, and there aren't a whole bunch of heterogeneous scenarios. When you're on, when you have your phone open, you can be on a bus, totally bored. You can be in a meeting, bored, but you can't be obviously playing a game. You can be standing outside in the rain trying to get somewhere. There are all these varied uses. One of my favorite examples.
And when you're at a computer, you're just at a computer.
You're at a computer, and I think so. You can get away more with just say showing an ad and having it convert better without understanding the context. One of my favorite sites that I think does commerce really, really well is Strava, and they have these two different experiences. They have a mobile.
Do you guys all know what Strava is?
So Strava is an app.
Not outdoorsy, this group.
Not outdoorsy.
No.
Strava is an app that lets you record your exercise, your running and your cycling. And so you're about to go for a run, you press the button on the app and you go and it tracks it, and then it uploads it to the web. And so you have these two completely different use cases. On the phone, you press a button and you put your phone in your pocket. And then on the web later, you're exploring and looking back over your runs and checking your times. And when you're on the web, that's when you're lazy. That's when you've been out running. That's when you're ready to be advertised to,
Right.
ads for shoes. That's when you sign up for Strava Premium and get to explore with other friends. When you're on your phone, you're outdoors, you're in shorts, your phone is in your pocket. It's cold because you're in San Francisco and you just want to go running. That's when no matter what you try to get the user to do, they're in a very bad position to do it, whereas on the web, that's not the case. And so
But it's so married to the mobile experience. You have to have the mobile piece for everything else to work. Now I'm going to ask you, and I'm going to ask you too, Jahan, later, but Krishna, what do you think are some of the more innovative ways that you've seen mobile publishers and developers come up with to get revenue, whether it's from advertisers or from consumers?
Well, building on that idea, right? I think you're starting to see a lot more advertisers look at the whole multi-channel angle and figure out, okay, here's, I run ads and I run campaigns on mobile phones, I run them on tablets, I run them on desktop, I run them on TV. Why do I have to keep looking at each of these channels as completely individual? And how do I leverage the data that I know about my brand and how users respond to it on one platform across the other platforms? And so you've got companies let's say Drawbridge, for example, that's trying to figure out how to connect the dots between these different platforms. And and allow an advertiser to leverage the data that they have in mobile on the desktop. So an example would be someone like Amazon. You're on the Amazon mobile app, you click on the X-Men DVD, add it to your cart, decide not to buy it for whatever reason, then you go to the desktop and you get an ad saying, hey, remember that DVD you were looking at. You freak out and then maybe you buy it, maybe you don't, right? But similarly along those lines, and I think you're going to start to see more and more of that as you have Facebook ads going to these multiple platforms, the Amazon Ads API opening up, and
I think
et cetera.
Google Plus was also showing some interesting stuff this morning where they're like, mobile, desktop, who cares? We're going to get you all sorted across every platform, and it's just you and your identity going hither and yon.
Yep.
Yep. All right, Jahan, what do you think are some innovative or interesting ways that mobile folks are getting revenue from their partners and users? Anything come
Well, I think fundamentally, just when you talk about mobile, and if you're going to talk about advertising in mobile, it's like context of what the user is doing becomes very important. And it's, because the way I look at it, kind of you sitting at your laptop has kind of replaced you vegetating in front of your TV in kind of society of today. And that's, when you're at your laptop, that's kind of you with spare time. I'm doing something, but I'm not in a huge hurry, and I'll browse around. Does this look interesting? Well, it looks somewhat interesting enough for me to click on, right? That will never happen on a mobile phone. Like, if you're on a mobile phone, you're on your way to do something else, or you are doing something else. So the context of what the user what the user is doing and what you're serving to them becomes very important. A couple of our partners are transit apps that we advertise on, and the interesting stance they have taken is they will not let non-transportation related ads be shown on their platforms, period.
So like setting a really high bar for the people that you let advertise on your mobile site is super important because of the intent.
Yeah, I mean, at least they've taken that stance. I don't know how well it's working for them, but it is interesting because when you pull out the phone and you open their app contextually,
conversion,
right?
Because if you're serving really relevant stuff, people are more likely to click on it.
Right.
Yeah, I think you make a very excellent point. So, folks in the audience, I would love to take a couple questions if y'all have any. I see Mr. Rob Carroll in the very, very back. Hold on just a second. We're going to get you a mic. And
Thank you.
go. Thank you, Rob.
You guys have thrown out some really good suggestions and ideas on ways that developers can monetize. Kind of going beyond just the advertisements and the banners and such, can you guys maybe hammer out a specific example of some cool monetization techniques that you've seen or you've used that maybe we could learn from?
Free for all. Go for it. Anybody.
I think any kind of delayed payment or anything that splits apart the funnel. So I'm biased. I spend my whole day thinking about payments, but I think anything that kind of teases apart the funnel and starts to give you value, and then maybe like creates a commercial relationship with you, and then goes on beyond that is pretty cool. Exec. You guys might know the cloud labor platform. I think they've done very well the way they, get you deliver a clear value proposition, get you set up on mobile, have that very high touch experience, and then at the very end, bring in the commerce part of it. I think stuff like that is pretty cool.
All right, I'm actually going to wrap up 22 seconds early because we're running 6 minutes late for our boardroom sessions. Thank you, gentlemen, so very much for joining us and for sharing your expertise. And you can go ahead and shuffle on up to not Buffalo.